LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB Podcast.
Welcome back. This is LaTB MMA Podcast. I'm Emmanuel, and as always, we got the hostess with the mostest, Cheney, filling us in on what we're going to get into today.
Today, we are recap-less, so we will fly right into the Twitterverse. Buckle up, buckle in. We will gossip and talk shit about anything we find MMA or fight-related. And then we will break down UFC 247. Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes.
Pay-per-view. That's going to be a fun one. But there's been a lot going on in the Twitterverse. I feel like other sports do transfer over in a little bit. And I don't care about no foosball. I mean, there was some bets being thrown around out there. There was people making money. But it was all about the halftime show for me. All I really cared about was Shakira showing me
Wherever, ain't gonna be together. And then people are like, right now, if you just heard that auditorial, would you be like, is that Bullet Valentina? I hated the halftime show. I was embarrassed for Jennifer Lopez. I felt like the best meme I saw was when I was young, this was 50, and it had a picture of Blanche from the Golden Girls.
True.
And it says, this is 50 now, and it had her swinging from a pole with like Hooters hose on, and then like
it was a
Cher outfit. It sure was. I think RuPaul has actually worn that exact outfit.
100%. It was all Shakira. You know, she was showing me how that tongue movement makes it go down in Latin America.
Yeah, that was great. That was the best part.
The best part of the entire game.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, even when JLo was trying to shake her butt, like, she had so many layers of pantyhose on, it didn't move. It just looked like fabric laying on it. I felt like she needs to go out all free, like, wear some short, like, if it's JLo, like, it's JLo and her rear end. That's why everyone's tuning in. So I think, yeah, Shakira.
That was that. Some of the other combat sports that we have going on is some boxing and some of that cross talent going over from the UFC to boxing. Clay Collard, did you happen to catch any of his win over the weekend? Over the young prospect 0-5 or 5-0 fighter?
What you're talking about.
Clay Collard, do you remember the fun scraps he got in there against, was it Habib on short notice? Got in some fight of the year contenders at 145 pounds. No. He was let go of the UFC. He's picked up boxing, but has officially had his last boxing match. But he knocks out this young 9-0 or 5-0 boxer in a round of the year boxing. These boys are slugging. Catch that. You know you can find it at Zoe Tonight. I retweeted some of those highlights. Gorgeous stuff. He's coming back in MMA. Supposedly Bellator's having in there, but former UFC brass getting it done. Cross-talent sports. Love it. Absolutely love it.
I'm surprised you led with that story.
After the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I really am like, I don't know who that is.
Clay Collard had some fun fights in there in the UFC, but we've had other MMA news related type stuff getting in there.
What about the Saudis bidding for their building like a $500 billion new city in the middle of the desert, like kind of like a Dubai, like a desert oasis. So Saudi Arabia is building it, and they want either right now, supposedly, Khabib has confirmed it. Ali leaked it that the Saudis have offered Khabib $100 million to either fight Floyd or Conor in the city for the opening.
Well, you better not forget about your boy, Tony Ferguson, because that's going to dramatically affect how much money you're getting paid as soon as you get sliced up.
That's what, even all the thought of this, I am totally with you. Do not disrespect El Kukui.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Because think about other things. Start talking about Conor. Right. I think it's going to laugh in everybody's face when...
Terrorist Masu Tuesdays on full board, from what it sounds like.
I should have tweeted... It's like I time traveled this week and lost a day. And I treated today like it was Thursday all day. And I actually had the thought last night when I was thinking about Tony to do a Tiramisu Tuesday tweet at him. And I'm like, oh, it's the wrong day. It wasn't. Well, I guess it would have been Tiramisu Wednesday. I'm still a day off. Still.
But definitely interesting, Ali getting all that, leaking that, and people saying that. Go ahead and do it. Hopefully everything's tied down and doesn't blow over in a sandstorm out there, because those are crazy when they don't put those together too fast.
Oh, and the other highlight of the Super Bowl, I can't believe we didn't talk about it. Usman and Masvidal getting into the tiff backstage.
We did talk a little bit about this. You were saying all it was Usman saying, do something. Do something. And then Masvidal shooting, finger gunning at Usman.
And now they're trying to make a whole, like, oh, this is
Dana
definitely
wants
going to
it.
be the next fight. The only reason I think this is a bad idea, what do you do with a healthy Conor right now who says he wants to fight 3 times this year? You really just put him and wait for Khabib to heal from Tony Ferguson?
Nope. You have him fight Carlos Condon. You have him fight Diego Sanchez.
Ew, no.
It doesn't matter. Conor's fighting.
No.
He ain't going to fight Gaethje.
Well, the dumbest thing I heard was, let's move Gaethje up to 170 and he fight Gaethje. And I'm like...
Just do it at 55.
I don't get it at all. If he's chasing
But do it at
Khabib,
65.
he needs a 155 fight, in my opinion, before he fights Khabib regardless. Or Tony, as the case may be. How dare I? But I don't think there's any reason to move Justin Gaethje from where he's at. For Conor... I don't know. I know everyone's pushing for the 155 fight with Justin, which I don't hate. I prefer that over, I don't know. I just think it's Masvidal or nothing. That's the next fight.
For Usman or McGregor? Exactly.
Not
Masvidal.
for Usman at all. I think it's...
Masvidal can fight anyone as much as Conor can right now.
If I'm Usman, or if I'm Masvidal, what fight do I think
Conor,
I'm going to get?
Far.
Yeah, so why
By
on
far.
earth? And less dangerous, 3 times, 4 times the amount of money? Plus you're a belt holder, so you get pay-per-view guys on a Conor fight.
Correct.
That's why Dana's trying to steer him away from it, probably because he's like, I'm not giving 2 fighters pay-per-view on a Conor night. Sorry. Anywho, I think they'd be surprised at how big that fight was. And I think they could put Nate on as an undercard and then build that up again. And then they should give Nate Carlos Condit.
If he hasn't retired again.
Who, Nate or Carlos?
Carlos. Actually, there it is. So, any other MMA Twitter stuff? There was a round of layoffs for the company. Who was on there?
Did you see that Darren Till hurt his ankle and he was supposed to fight Jared Cannonier?
We did. We chatted about that. He broke his ankle immediately after taking that fight. So... that's not going to go on for them. They're still up in the air, even though they have that slate booked right now. I don't think they've officially gotten him an opponent.
And I do think there's going to be some press conferences coming up for UFC 247.
Do you feel like this is a pay-per-view worthy from the hype you've seen, from the talk you've seen from the week? We had a week off. They've had more than enough time. I'm usually ultra hyped for these things, but when I got into the tape, I'm like, these are fun fights, but did they just Conor us again? Did they just load up Jon Jones? They got to pay a lot of money, and everyone else, hey, you're on your 3rd fight in the UFC, 4th fight. There's a couple other stars, but I don't know. There's just really interesting. It was down to 10 fights for a little while, back up to 12 all of a sudden, but that's replacements coming in on literally 8 days, so... how do you feel in general about the hype going into fight week?
I honestly, even with Jon Jones on it, well, I mean, I guess it has Jon Jones and Valentina. I think the problem that everyone's having is they feel like these are just fucking give me fights. And, I mean, it's a double belt night. And for all intents and purposes, maybe the most skilled. You can say what you will about...
Amanda
and belts and things like that. But in my opinion, Amanda's size won her the fight with Valentina. Valentina is the most well-rounded, skilled woman I've ever watched fight. Jon Jones is the most well-rounded, skilled man I've ever watched fight. So it's at least that. So I know for the hardcores, like I like the Ige Bektik fight. There's a couple of hardcores.
Oh, there's a couple
but
amazing.
But as far as, am I excited? I'm not. It feels fight night excited. Like I have a little bit of, there's a couple on here that I'm excited people, but I'm fight night excited.
Right. Like, unless you lived in Albuquerque, like you're not going to throw a party at a bar to watch his pay-per-view.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like,
Jon Jones doesn't do that for me anymore.
Not anymore. I agree. And he's been having really interesting interviews he's been very monotone, but I guess that's left for the breakdown once we get into all of that fight week stuff. Is there anything you have left in the Twitterverse? Anything else?
Now
I think
that
we're ready.
Even started to chit-chat about it, if I feel like I forgot anything that I wanted to talk to you about, you know I will bring it up. You know I will get off subject, but gosh, I can't. I guess I really don't have anything else to say in Twitterverse, do you?
Neither do I, but what I can talk about is a 12 card bout coming out of Austin, Texas. We're going to the Lone Star State. Everything's bigger in Texas. It's going to be Texas versus the world as far as this 12 card bout. We talked a little bit about these short notice replacement fights. It's going to affect the card in general. Even the DraftKings, I feel like some of these numbers are really swayed, and it's just because they replaced kind of the talent short notice, though. But you know how we always do. We start from the bottom to the top. It ain't going to change here. And it starts off with a dirty double debut on super short notice. We have debuting Youssef Zala coming in against Austin Lingo. Zala being in on 8 days notice. The Moroccan Devil is 7-2. Last coming off of a win, TKO flying knee over Hernandez out of the LFA scene. Prior to that, he had 2 losses, though, via decisions to his opponents there. He is somewhat well-rounded. It's just been regional somewhat seen. I didn't like his gas tank. Throws in a shot every once in a while, but he just tends to brawl with an overhand left. He is an orthodox fighter, but the guy who had a full training camp, who had his opponent fall out as of about 2 weeks ago, Austin Lingo, is coming out of Fortis MMA, the perfect 7-0 Dallas, Texas fighter, is 25 years old. He's definitely the prospect out of that team, also fighting out of the LFA. He's gotten more finishes as of late 6 months ago against Hatley. Prior to that, knocking out Webb. He's definitely a guy who can keep it striking. His grappling is his biggest deficiency, but he's still more than serviceable. Out of both of these fighters, he's by far the UFC caliber guy here. He can get hit, though, so I don't like the odds because it is just too short notice. It's too much. This is one of those what we see Kamara worthy type of situations. Is Zala has nothing to lose here. So if he comes out swinging as hard as he can and he clips him, it goes bust. We like to tell you guys to stay away from these for a reason. This is a big fat stay away from me. There's no way I'm picking this humongous favorite betting wise, but I do have Lingo finishing it standing. I think he can keep it standing, and eventually he just picks apart the already gassing type of Zala in their second round.
Is Zala a natural 135er?
He is actually moving up. He's only fought at 35, so he's fighting this at 45 on short notice.
I think he's going to get knocked out in a second, but I totally agree. I'm going to stay away from it.
Right. But that does affect because Zingo in here, he's cutting down from like 155 pounds to a guy that's 35 moving up. So I think we're going to see a big difference on the scale.
Maybe I could see a decision, Lingo decision. I'm going to stay away from this. I really have no idea about either of these guys yet.
Minus 210 favorite. Lingo coming in against the plus 150 for Zala. Zala being 7,300 on DraftKings against Lingo's 8,900. We both have a finish in the second round, but you can't really trust these.
Yeah, I'm not staying away from it.
Staying away from it. Definitely going to big fat stay away. Then we move on to the bantamweights at 135 pounds, where we have a profile fight between Andre Ewell coming in against Jonathan Martinez, the Dragon. I know we like to call him Pedro because a lot of people tend to see the resemblance there with his cousin. off Napoleon Dynamite.
Poor guy.
Jonathan Martinez, being the Plainview, Texas native, he is going to have the crowd in his corner as well. Having some marquee wins, being 11-2 overall, beating Li Ping in a TKO 6 months ago, and Buren in a decision. Only losing in a decision to Sohamthath, the Asian sensation, got it done in there. That's scary, knowing what he's kind of done. But when I watched that fight again, in the amount of growth that he had with that loss, Martinez has really started to get his hands together. He's a southpaw, throws a lot of kicks with that left leg. He'll double up on that left leg and left hand a lot, and has power from a lot of shots. He knocked out with that knee. Who was it? Lou in there? Beautiful. He actually throws that knee. He's been throwing it since his early fights as a pro. He intercepts it to the body and or head. He can adjust it. He actually throws it in. The thing that I don't like about that knee is that he'll reach for it at times, and a good boxer can reach around it and land on him. But Martinez has shown a great chin so far. I really like the leaps in his striking that I'm seeing. He is a young man at 25, and he hasn't just stayed neutral. It's like, ooh, this guy's he's starting to find his own in there. I really like what I'm seeing from Dragon coming in against the 15-6 Ewell being spotty in the UFC, having his best win being the ghost of Renan Barão in there. Then coming off of a loss to Brandon Vera. Prior to that, beating Anderson Dos Santos in a decision. No, who'd he get in there? Dos Santos in a decision that was controversial, losing the submission to Nathaniel Wood. Ewell in there has gas tank issues in the third round. Good striking, keeps it on the outside. Serviceable takedown defense, but when you do get Ewell down, he doesn't have the best stand-up. He doesn't have a route to get back up. Sometimes he just flops over and tries to scramble, where I think Martinez has a big advantage on the ground. He likes to keep it striking here. The craftier, longer guy by like 5 inches, Ewell has a big reach advantage here. So I don't know if that intercepting knee is going to work for Martinez as much. But it's the pressure game. I feel like Ewell doesn't like a lot of pressure, and Ewell is somebody who does, if he gets behind, he doesn't come back well. So I think this is going to be a firefight. I'm really excited. Either one of these guys can get knocked out at any point in time. But I think Martinez comes in round number 2. I actually like Martinez a lot here. I think Ewell had his best showing, and that was, again, that defeating of Barão and that controversial split decision against Santos. But I think Martinez is someone to watch out for in the division. I like what I see from the young prospect. Who do you think you're going to take in this one?
He's young, and I don't hate him. I'm just not as impressed with him as you are. His wins to me are against people that I'm like, whatever with him. And his loss, so Hamthath hasn't won again since beating Martinez. So it's not like he was... So Hamthath is like, oh, I'm so skilled, I'm just slaying everyone. Like, oh, maybe you're just slaying Martinez. Ewell's one of those guys that he just makes people look boring. He's just kind of like a Jim Miller, one of those Lozans, where he just goes in there. I think he's smothering. I actually like his cardio. I know he tends to slow up, but it's because of the amount of volume. I like Ewell here. I have him by decision over a young kid who blows his wad trying to finish an aged vet. Not necessarily the UFC, but in general.
Definitely with 32-year-old Ewell in there. Ewell being the minus 140 favorite, 8,400 on DraftKings, against Martinez's plus 110, 7,800. If he gets a knockout, he's definitely paying that off. Ewell in a decision can score 80 points in a decision, but it has to be ultra high output in there from both guys.
I kind of like it with Ewell with that pick only because he, even on a loss, his average is still pretty high as average.
42 points on average for Ewell against Martinez's 63.
Oh, yeah. But I think the competition level with Ewell is insane.
I agree. Ewell does have a much higher level competition level. Chito Vera.
It's like 3 stories up compared to what the guys Martinez has fought.
Definitely. But I think that actually in that Chito Vera fight against Ewell, that's where Martinez can implement a lot of that same game plan and just get in Ewell's face. Yeah. So, again, fun fight. I'm really excited for this one.
Good fight.
So, definitely... gonna have exposure to either one of those guys. I'm gonna be heavy on Martinez.
I don't think I'll be playing it too much.
Yeah, I'm only playing Martinez on that side, 20%. Then we move on to 135 pounds.
Are you going to go heavy in the night, do you think?
Actually, looking at these DraftKings lines, I thought I was going to play a lot more cards, but because of the short notice and the big gaps in prices, I'm going to probably go in like 10 cards I'm going to probably make.
I did so well with my Super Bowl picks.
Woo! Hot fire.
Yep, and I beat this guy. Still owes me $10. Yeah, I'm saying it on air. Yeah, I'm saying it on air. You don't have to give it to me right now. I just remembered it right now. But because I have a little money on there, I probably will play a couple of televised cards more than I'll mess around with any of these prelims.
Which aren't out yet, but we'll roughly know what those prices are going to be on that. But yeah, I'm going to be lower owned. They're really close matchup, some interesting lines.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying too. A lot of heavy favorites, like the people that you're like, well, that person, we'll talk about it.
Definitely. Then we move on. As I was saying, staying in the 135-pound division, we have Domingo Peralta coming in against Journey Newsome. Newsome being 9-2, losing his debut in the UFC on short notice against Ricardo Ramos in there. The Impact Jiu-Jitsu fighter is fighting out of Portland, Oregon. The wrestler has some local ties. Evil Twins rolled with the young man out there. He likes him. Evil Twin thinks there's a bet to be made on him because he's got that Evil Twin luck on him, supposedly. But Newsome likes to wrestle in there. He's an orthodox fighter, has a good check left in there, overhand right with power. He's got some ground and pound finishes. He'll jump on that guillotine, but on short notice against the UFC caliber guy, you just saw that when Newsome started to get just outworked, he just got on his bike a little bit more and was more than willing to go to a decision. Once Newsome also can't get you to the ground, he definitely tends to have a lot of trouble because that's 80% of his fights. He likes to really be in that ground and pound and just winning on top, landing pitter-patter shots. And against Peralta, that's something that's very achievable. He's a young man I've been hyped on for a long time. Came in against Corrales, the human punching bag, and lost his debut in the UFC. We just saw Corrales get eaten alive in a fight, but a toughness to that young man. Credit to him. Peralta did blow his load trying to finish him a few times. Couldn't finish Corrales, and then Corrales just kept out grinding him. And that's because Peralta has garbage takedown defense. He allows a takedown. He started wrestling a long time ago. He's incredibly long at 6 foot.
His eyebrows weigh him down.
He's
sorry out there. I don't want to offend anyone
with good eyebrows. Anybody with good eyebrows. I'm sure Eddie Alvarez is pissed.
Kobe Bryant or Kobe Covington.
Damn.
Sorry.
So, definitely Peralta in here, though. He does have submissions off of his back because he's so long in there, but he can get out controlled. Corrales did it. Once Peralta doesn't get that triangle, or once he just gets stuffed a couple times on the ground, he doesn't have a method to get back up.
Does Newsome look a little like a mini Maheta?
In this photo, but not in real life.
Huh.
I don't think he... Oh, in this photo. Yeah, I can see that. I could definitely see that.
A little mini Maheta.
He's definitely a 5'4" mini Maheta. Yeah. But I actually had Peralta, but I'm talking myself out of it. I do think Newsome gets the takedowns out of both fighters and is able to just grind out a decision. I had Peralta decision coming into it. I've still been hyped on him, but he got in a firefight on the Contender Series fight and barely won it. Should I be putting so much hype on that?
I don't like Contender Series.
I know. So that's where I'm like, maybe I need to, back off of it. And yeah, I'm going with the Evil Twin. I guess he swayed me. I think the takedowns happen and it turns into a decision.
Energy to Newsome. If it's like 2 degrees of separation, then I want Newsome to win. I have no dog in the fight. Pilardi hasn't really impressed me. It's not that I'm super high on Journey Newsome, but I have no reason not to be. Give me a Newsome decision.
Wow.
Why not a dirty grind? Think it'll be low scoring. Maybe like 63 point decision.
For the winner, whoever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Loser getting in that 20, 30 points. There is, though, the commission. We don't usually have to talk about it, but we should here in Texas. Been part of some of the most egregious decisions we've ever seen. Ask freaking who's his big rig. Hendricks has benefited from quite a few dirty ass splits in Texas in there. So the local here being Peralta, Houston native, this is in his backyard. If it gets to a dirty split at all, do you think that they're like, oh, he was throwing elbows from the bottom, those are strikes in Texas?
It always can happen, but we've seen Adelaide Bird in every state. Like, we really have. It's rarer that we say, wow, you know what? I like the judging and the reffing tonight. We need to start giving mention more when it's actually incredible. I think we spend too much time as fans like shredding them, but it's far and few between where it's a great night and there was no weird calls.
It has been as of late, unfortunately.
I am trying to get better at saying aloud, even in the room I'm in, when the fight's close enough, of saying, this is such a close fight, I won't be mad either way it goes. So that way, when it doesn't go my way, I am holding myself accountable to going on Twitter and being like, come on, Big John! Or whoever called the shit call. Anyway.
Minus 145, Domingo Peralta being the favorite. 8,200 on DraftKings against Newsom's plus 125, 8,000 even. As we're saying, we think it's going to be a low scorer in general.
I feel like it's going to be boring.
I think it's going to be boring as well. Average 23 points, Peralta, Newsom, 19 points. So, big fat stay away?
Yeah, totes.
Definitely.
I hope when Journey Newsom wins, we don't know, because is this on ESPN Plus?
This is...
Who knows?
I don't even know.
Whatever, look up your
anymore.
local listings.
Yeah.
When he gets interviewed, I hope he shouts out your brother for the good role.
For evil twin? For the evil twin rule?
Yeah. What about if your brother knows the special move that he taught him that he won the fight with?
Oh, crumpling up into a ball and crying is not a special move. Just saying. That's giving up. That's
Boom.
So, then we move on to bantamweight, staying in the 135-pound division. Miles Jon coming in against Mario Batista, another hot boy for yourself over here. Myself, I've been talking all about Batista for a long time. Yeah, he came in against Sam Hagen, and yeah, he was going to lose that. After that, smooth sailings for this young man. He's definitely got some hard tests ahead of him, but people are sleeping. Been sleeping on Batista. I'm telling you. 7-1 is the fighter, only losing against Corey Sandhagen, where he took him down after he was losing some exchanges and then got triangled, but he still took him down. Tends to get more takedowns in the fight, but his pace, I love the pace of Batista. Will lead a shot a bit more, but seeing that progression, seeing him still stay pressured, but not completely run in blind as much anymore, I think he really put a showcase on. He was going to be my underdog pick against Sun, didn't get that out there in time, but I mean, I think that he can keep this fight where he wants it. If anything, I think Batista takes it to the ground, and on average, he has about a 5 to 6 strike per minute average compared to Miles Jon, the perfect 10-0 fighter that is fighting out of Dallas, Texas. The 25-year-old won his debut in the UFC against Cole Smith.
But did we all think Cole Smith won that?
It was a dirty, controversial split. Yes.
And it wasn't dirty, but everybody's high on Miles Jon. He one of those guys that had this huge hype train going into it, and everyone thought he was going to run through Cole Smith, that it was robbery.
Absolutely. Cole Smith barely, but that's because Miles Jon really decisions a lot of his fights. Even on the regional scene, when I went back and looked on his tape, his Richie Santiago fight where he was a huge favorite on the Contender Series, decision. Yes, he's knocked out low-level opponents that are 3-5 or something like that, and those are on his highlights. Don't forget that, but this isn't that level of competition. He's fighting UFC caliber now, and it's definitely a big step up to the guys he was finishing. He does have power.
I'm just extra bitter because I was the only person, I think, in America
who had Smith.
Yeah,
but he won that fight. Smith won that fight for sure. But here the Fortis fighter has a good camp behind him as well. But again, he coasts in fights. After the first round, he just takes the second and third off. We'll kind of throw shots out there if he's losing, but he really tends to brawl to get most of his exchanges done. And Batista's willing to answer him there. Batista will sit in the pocket with you if he wants to, and once he starts to lose, if he starts to lose, that's where he gets his shots going. I really, really, really like what I'm seeing from Batista. Definitely somebody to be watching out for. I think he actually wins via submission. I think he takes down Johns, gets over. Johns is the wrestler here, but I think after the first round, Johns is going to be sucking a lot of air and Batista's just going to start getting going. Give me the underdog plus money 105 Batista submission round number 2.
I really like your submission. I have Batista decision. I'm just not a Miles Johns lover at all. And Batista would be Cole Smith, hands down. If they were to fight in my head, if I were to pick it, he'd win. Cole Smith won the fight before. Miles John will leave this probably being 2-0 in the UFC because he is fighting in Texas. But I think Arizona just as close to the area. Just as close to the area. Who knows what's going on and how loud the Batista crowd will be. But give me Mario Batista for the upset. I like him too. I think he's going to be the longer guy. I think he's going to have the better strikes. And I'm not worried about him on the ground. I think he has good enough takedown defense that if Miles John goes to his takedowns as lazy, like when he is sucking air. It's not
correct.
There's nothing left. And Miles John still hasn't impressed me much. Give me Mario Batista.
In a decision, you were saying?
Yeah, but I like your submission pick. He is so long, and I do think Miles John gives up. So I could see that being the...
Right, where if he does even shoot, as you're saying, to leave his neck out there, and Batista will be like, all right, here's a ninja choke. But in here, we got Batista plus 120. The line's moved a lot since here on tap. So big underdog. It is going to be my plus money puesta. He would have been last time as well. He is this time. Give me that plus money all day. If that line keeps growing, I'm going to keep just putting money on it.
I like it. It definitely makes it more affordable to put your girl on your card.
Definitely.
We all know who your girl is around here.
We definitely do know Miles John being the minus 135, minus 170 favorite now.
I think they'll get further apart because for some reason people are high on Miles Johns.
I don't, yeah.
You know what he not necessarily his fighting style, but just he's like our Aaron Pico. It's like everyone's so high on him. I guess he hasn't gotten KO'd yet.
Right. He's a perfect record still. So I think it's time to get that. We had Batista get the perfect
gotcha go.
Exactly. Miles John.
That's what Batista stands for.
Good to know.
Got to go.
Good to know.
And taking Spanish.
Minus 170, Miles John, 8,600 on DraftKings against Batista's plus 120, 7,600. I'm putting Batista on cards, 20% of them for sure.
I like you.
If not a little bit more. He's going to let me afford a lot of stuff out there with that high output. Then we have, at 170 pounds, moving on up with Alex Morono versus debuting short notice replacement Callan Williams. Chaos, the Ox fighter himself, Callan Williams, is 9-1, 25, fighting out of Michigan, is it? Detroit, Michigan. He's a banger, he's a bruiser, throws heavy punches, will go for that. If somebody shoots on him, he'll go for that guillotine. But out of the regional Detroit, Michigan scene, it's just been regional guys. Morono was willing to take a fight against anybody because he did have a full training camp. He is from Spring, Texas, and he just was willing to fight anyone. He was going to have a much better fight with much higher level competition. So the Michigan guy here, Williams, anybody, if they called me on Saturday and said, hey, we need you to take this fight,
if they called me, I would be like, okay, and I don't even have to cut weight.
Fighting for the belt against Valentina.
I would. Whatever I had to do.
But you'd take that fight.
No, I'm talking about I'd fight Morono if they called me on short
notice. Oh, all right, let's do it. Let's set precedent. All right,
yeah,
cool. You're going to give me passes for me and my friends, right?
I just like the amount of views we'll get to the show. It's a full LaTB.
Definitely take one for the team out there. But Morono's a better fighter everywhere. Higher pace, better on the ground by far. Black belt by far. I think Morono actually tries to put a showcase on because he's going to be the local guy. He is going to get Texas hyped. And he's been doing that as of late on a 3-fight winning streak. He's been getting on guys' faces. I mean, other than the one Hail Mary shot that anybody can land, and Williams has that type of power, Morono has just been hit by harder strikers, by better angles, and been able to stay in there. If Morono does it right, he gets it right to the ground and just submits him right away. But I have a feeling Morono's going to want to prove something and try to knock him out. I got submission round number 1. Please, Morono, save yourself from even potentially getting knocked out by taking it to the ground, because it's a submission round number 1 if he takes it to the ground. If he decides to turn it into a striking bout, then it's probably 60-40, because power does the Ox fighter have in there. I like Morono
I hope
everywhere.
the submission. I have Morono submission round 2. He just should have the skills. He's gone against the right people. His head should be in the right place. He's the right age. He checks all the boxes. I do think what you're saying, he is going to want to try to go out and firefight for a little bit and put on some kind of display to be in Texas, because he just wanted to fight in Texas. But let's hope he is being smart and he just wanted to fight in Texas. I'm going to put submission round 2. I really love your submission round 1. I could even see him getting knocked out. His skills should just, or Williams getting knocked out. And Morono should be so much better. He should download him so much quicker, and it should be just like a perfect sparring match for him. It should be that kind of fight. So I could see the knockout coming. I want to move it to round 1, and I'm trying not to be disrespectful of Kaylin Williams, but I don't even know you. I don't know you. So yeah, I like Morono. I like submission round 1. We don't ever really see him as a power puncher, but I could see him totally. I'm changing it to KO. I'm doing KO round 1.
I could see that happen for sure, because he's getting more comfortable in his striking.
I think Kaylin's going to be trying to throw with so much power, like a heavy right hand. He's going to leave his left side so open and set up. It's just going to be overhand. Right, clean him out.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully that doesn't happen, because I like Morono in that 40% type of range. Like, I'm going to be heavy on him, even though he is a huge favorite. There's a reason for that.
He's just a slow, steady guy as far as even his career progression. He's one of the dudes that no one sees him coming. You got to put him in the category of like a Dan Hooker, where it's just like, he's just been, now everyone knows Dan Hooker, but he laid quiet for so long. And even if you're not a hardcore, you still don't even know who Dan Hooker is. So I think Alex Morono, I think keep him on your periphery.
He's going to stay around for a while, so there's going to be a profile spot position for him to get a good finish, hopefully. Being the big favorite, 9,100 on DraftKings against
it feels
Williams.
Weird to spend that kind of money on Morono.
7,100. I think it's justified here more so than a lot of the other highest priced fighters, honestly. I think Morono is the best value play over 9,000 for most likely to finish.
Tell me that Morono is better than this.
It is. Okay, and you will be like, you're right. You're absolutely right. Morono is definitely going to be more value there. So definitely have him finishing it in the first round. I'm going to be heavy everywhere. Are you going to hedge yourself? Are you going to hedge anywhere with Williams at 7-1? As you're saying, as we're both saying, it's like... Ugh.
I don't think so at all.
Okay, I don't think so either.
Not on one card.
Right.
I don't know you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams. Have you seen, there's a movie, it wasn't Spike Lee, it was called Higher Learning, and Omar Epps was in it, and there's a professor, and his professor, when he's yelling at him through the courtyard to get his attention, Mr. Williams, you will not talk like that in my class. I always that's my...
that sounded just like him.
Yeah, people were, who is it? Lawrence Fishburne, I think.
Oh, yeah. That son of a gun.
Yeah. It's, who's Morpheus?
So, anything
Mr. Anderson.
Anything left with Orpheus?
Let's get racist!
Then we move on to a fun one
Just
in Andrea
It shouldn't be
KGB.
hurtful. I don't know. If you're effing a racist, good chance you're probably saying racist shit yourself.
KGB, when she's not even Russian, she's Polish. So just saying, maybe a little weird. Yeah, her husband being the Nazi on the run. That sounds like a band name.
Nazi on the run.
So coming in against Lauren Murphy, the 11
Mrs.
and 4 fire.
Doubtfire 2, Nazi on the run. Hello!
That sounds like a watcher. I'm going to definitely watch that one. Would Tarantino make that?
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
All Miss Doubtfire feet.
So, Lauren Murphy coming in here as a grinder.
I always like how the show always starts tight. And then by the time we get to the main card, we are off the rails.
Loose and goose, loosey-goosey, having a good time. Having a good time.
I'm like Cowboy Cerrone. I'm a slow starter.
But Lauren Murphy in here, coming off of the tough house, will grapple, mainly strike, very low level or very low amount of takedowns, 1 per round, if that. Lauren Murphy is just a slower striker, though, less power. She's just has a good gas tank.
For the YouTube people, Lauren Murphy in this picture looks like my mom. Like if she asked to like clean this room, and then she shut the door and she came back like an hour later. Me and my brother are playing Legos. That would be the face that she looked at me like, and I'd be a little scared. Anyway.
Do you know the mom that interrupts those kids and is like, "Who shit in the bathroom? Who's shit in the bathroom? You flush it. You're disgusting."
Sorry, Darren Till.
So here, Lauren Murphy is just kind of a slower version than KGB Lee with less actual takedowns. KGB Lee has better takedowns and shoots 3 per fight compared to the maybe 1 Lauren Murphy does. So she actually goes to the ground more, does Lee, and actually is more successful, passes more often than Murphy. So if Murphy can't get it done striking, where KGB Lee, that's really been where she's done her best work, is just winning decision type fights with volume. I don't think Murphy's going to be able to out-volume with a good gas tank we see Lee having. Lee has popped for steroids before she even got to the UFC, just so you remember that. So
That's what I like to hear in my fighters, especially on a Jon Jones night, honestly.
Especially on a Jon Jones fight. But with all that said, I don't necessarily see the finish coming here. Lauren Murphy's a tough enough of a lady that she'll eat all of those shots and just keep moving forward and still lose a decision. I got Lee decision. I think she picks her apart at distance. It's shot through the roof. The line is out of betting value whatsoever, and I don't even think it's parlayable because it's just too much of a grimy fight. I got a decision. Could be a dirty. No, I don't see a dirty split here, but I don't see it being a big score or being that confident. Who do you have in this fight?
I totally agree with you. I feel like I got KGB's number. I know who she can fight and who she can't fight. I'm one of the few people that had Joanne Calderwood in their last fight. The problem with Lauren Murphy is she is always underestimated. She goes in there and she does these really, we've talked about fighters who make fights boring. She's one of those fighters. She just goes, she has just enough skill set to turn somebody else's skill set off a little or disrupt them a little. Like she's too in their zone. She's always going forward. She'll get cut up. She's super aggressive. She's like a zombie. KGB Lee, I think, has a better, cleaner skill set than Lauren Murphy. And she doesn't mind fighting a 3-round fight. I almost think this is set up to get KGB back in this winning thing. No one anticipated the Joanne Calderwood. I think they want to kind of push her a little bit. She's talented. And I think she should be able to kind of put on a little showcase for this fight. This kind of like the coming out party of Angela Lee. This should be what we see for, or not Andrea Lee, who did we just see
Murphy?
last week? Angela Hill.
Who has another fight, by the way, already booked.
Yeah, that kind of showcase. I guarantee you she fought more last year than any other fighter. She's about
to break a record of most fights within a year, within a 1-year time frame, with 6 fights that she's just now stepping in short notice in like 2 weeks.
And it's almost at their
Fucking
weight
beast.
class. Not that it's not slain, but it's far less trauma than fighting a 185
especially when you're murking girls.
But I'm hoping for Lee this is that kind of fight. I got Andrea Lee decision, but I totally agree with you. If Lauren Murphy should not be this much of an underdog. It's going to be a closer decision than anyone else thinks it's going to be. And she could eke out a nasty little dirty split if she pulls down the right takedown and then just smothers her for one weird round. Give me Andrea Lee decision.
She is
340 favorite. She
too
ain't
much.
Bullet
And
Valentina.
it's more like 400 by this point. It's already been steamed up, only moving in Lee's favor.
That's crazy.
That's definitely
disrespectful.
A lot.
It's disrespectful.
On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $9,200 for Andrea Lee against Lauren Murphy's $7,000. The current line minus 345 plus 285.
Lauren Murphy's more aggressive than Calderwood.
But I still do not think in a decision and a loss she's not going to get those extra 30 points at 7,000. So I see myself staying away from this one completely as well. If there's a play to be had, it's only Lee, but 9-2 is too steep. And 8 out of 10 times it goes to a decision. 2 out of that other time, Lee finishes.
And Lauren Murphy used to fight at a bigger weight, right? Wasn't she a 135er?
I believe she has been at 35 before.
I think this is going to be a tougher fight for Angela Lee. At weigh-ins, I could see myself changing to Lauren Murphy. This is dirtier, a lot closer than people are giving any.
Are you going to play either one of these fighters? Because I'm not.
I'm not going to play Andrea Lee anywhere. I could see myself sneaking Murphy as my underdog on 1 or 2.
Okay, I don't mind that.
She's got to be so cheap with that kind of
7,000 even.
What's her average points?
50 points for Murphy average.
I'll play Lauren Murphy on a few cards. I will put Angela Lee nowhere.
Lee 77
I think
points.
this is a dogger pass play, actually. I think that's it. I have no confidence in Andrea Lee.
I'm just gonna big fat stay away. I got a couple of these. That's why I feel like going into this pay-per-view, there's some fun fights, but then there's some
no one expected Lauren Murphy to win her last fight. She found this new aggression. She's taken the 6 months off. I like the camp she's at. I'm switching. I got Lauren Murphy decision.
Big underdog.
Yeah, I got
huge underdog.
She's gonna hurt her enough to keep Andrea Lee at bay. I think Lauren Murphy, I love JoJo Calderwood's my girl. I think Lauren Murphy throws a little heavier, and she just looked fucking cut up her last fight. She looked like a different version of Lauren Murphy.
Wow.
You guys, I'm an Andrea Lee hater. It's hard for me to pull for her, so take the bias for what it is. And because we're not into the Fight Pick Championships yet, I always feel like we go off the rails on the prelims now because it's like
we pick wherever.
Yeah, so Murphy decision.
The headlining preliminary card of the night, bout of the night, is going to be in Trevin Giles, the local native, against Antonio Arroyo, last debuting in the UFC and losing. The 9-3 fighter lost his debut against Me News 2 months ago. In 2 weeks, the Mojaro brothers, 30-year-old Brazilian fighter, tends to love, he's a southpaw, throws a lot of kicks to the body and head. He'll double up a lot, like I was saying with Martinez. By the way, with Martinez, I forgot to say, his elbow work is going to be fun to watch. Later, Martinez just throws a lot of really fun inside elbows. But either way, with Arroyo, what I saw, the likeness is Arroyo will throw that left kick to the body and then right up to the head. That's what I have to
tell you when I was telling you about the video that you, earlier before we went on air, I was telling you about Brian Callen and Sugar Ray Leonard. Yes. Doing a little fake sparring session in the hallway. Sugar Ray Leonard was throwing punches so fast, it looked like he was giving inside elbows. The punches and hooks were so fast, I couldn't even see his hand. It just looked like, to me, total inside elbow. Yeah. So anyway, sorry.
But Arroyo likes to double up on that left side a lot, being a southpaw, throwing it to the leg kick to the body and head, and supposedly his claim to fame is that he kicks like a mule. But hey, when UFC fighters can take those mule kicks and keep taking down Arroyo with his lacking takedown defense, he can't get up off of the ground and he tends to gas in even his fights he's winning. Sometimes he needs to just pull out that Hail Mary body kick and head kick that finally hurts his guys, but really limited on the ground. He does have some submissions. He goes for some high elbow guillotines, but it's against limited competition. Saw some grappling stuff that he was doing in, I think, Nogi type stuff there. But I was more hyped than Arroyo. I picked him as an underdog or the slight favorite that he was in his last fight, and he just really let me down with that gas tank. But against the local here, Trevin Giles, who has gas tank issues, getting his first 2 losses ever, 11-2, losing to Zach Cummings in a submission, and Mearshart, your number 1 boy, the meatball himself, got it done in there via submission as well, and it's because of Trevin Giles' gas tank.
I called both those.
Trevin Giles is full-time officer. Correction, I don't know if it's corrections. No, I believe he's an officer. But either way, he does this now, UFC stuff part-time. Has always had issues with his gas tank, but throws a lot of takedowns in there in a lot of fights. Even when he does gas, it's usually because he's being the more offensive grappler in there. But against a Zach Cummings, D1 wrestler, and a Mershart, who grappling is his game, I think a lot of strikers are surprised by the power of Trevin Giles. And then once they get to the ground and their arms get a little bit sagging, that's where Giles does his best work. And that's usually his game plan. I don't think he differs from that, especially being a little knowing what he's doing now, doing his full-time job. I think if Giles stays on that same, I'm just going to box this guy up a bit to get to the takedown. Even in the third round, Arroyo's going to be just more gas because he's going to be on bottom more. This is going to be a close one, but I do think the hometown also plays a role when it's going to be a coin flip. Give me Trevin Giles in this one. I'm going to probably stay away from this. I see this being a decision, either fighter. So give me Giles. Who do you have in this fight?
I hope Giles, whatever Trevin's name is, I really do hope that he's worked on the gas tank issues a little bit. He has more experience inside the UFC. Arroyo's hungry. He did the Contender Series twice, but maybe he's just getting called up like, hey, buddy, we need someone to fill in, and he just is always there to call. I think this fight is a big fat stay away. I have Giles' decision. I'm kind of being swayed by the Tapology and you a little bit, but I don't like anything Giles has given me either. But Arroyo, you just ain't seen nothing yet. Boom, boom. Anyway. Yeah.
Minus 135, a favorite, Trevin Giles, coming in again at 8,500, coming in against the underdog Arroyo at plus 115, 7,700. Do you see yourself playing Arroyo anywhere and or Giles on that?
I just see them both kind of be low scoring. What are your thoughts?
Totally agree. I'm saying, I think this turns into a big fat sloppy decision as well. And hometown's going to play a favor, but it's not going to get me hyped to move into this Fight Pick Championship pay-per-view card, honestly.
I totally agree with you. I can't believe this is the fight they went with.
I agree.
Premiere.
Put Morono on here with that dude to slay him.
I totally agree. There it is. That's the fight. And he's probably a huge local too.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. So there's the prelims of a pay-per-view. That doesn't work you in if you were on the fence about getting the pay-per-view. You're like, nah, I'll just go out with you guys.
Absolutely. We'll go to Hooters. We'll go to Wild Wings.
We'll just go watch it at Hooters. We'll just go watch Hooters. Okay, yeah, so I don't have anything else to say about it. Should we get to the business?
Let's do it.
And as always, make sure you are liking and subscribing and following us at LATB_MMA on Twitter and Instagram. That's LATB_MMA. On Twitter and Instagram, you can also find Emmanuel, as always, at Zoltanite on Twitter. And you can find me at WeakNeckBaby. And if you follow us on those places and feel like following our Instagrams, they might be the same. I'm WeakNeckBaby on Instagram.
Correct.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay. Well, there you go. So, back into it. I don't think we have any other business.
Other than the Fight Pick Championships kicks off with this pay-per-view for UFC 247. You're going to have to spill out 65 bones to get in this, to watch Jon Bones Jones do his dirtiest work that he could possibly do in there against Reyes. But keeping in trend, we always go from the bottom to the top. And Derek Lewis coming in against Ilir Latifi is definitely going to be a one-sided man-beating. And we're going to see poor little old Latifi, all 5'6" of him, go night-night because he's moving up from 205 pounds. He thinks that moving up in weight is going to make him better, and it probably would against the lower half of the heavyweight division as far as out of the top 20 guys, not somebody who's actively in the top 10, which is Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis here, being the local guy, Houston, Texas native. I mean, I feel like he's going to probably have his family grill and barbecue. He's going to be eating full-on wings and feet, pig's feet, right before the fight. Notorious Kavanaugh, do you remember that picture of him showing with Derek Lewis 8 right before his fight? Where it was like a spread, absolute spread. And then he notoriously felt like he was going to do-do. So Derek Lewis, 23-7, coming against 14-7. Alir Latifi. Latifi's been on a 2-fight losing streak. They've been devastating finishes in here. Latifi does have the better wrestling out of the two. Lewis ain't gonna try to take down Latifi. Latifi's got his only shot here is to take down Derek Lewis, but Derek Lewis, for his lack of technical ability, his brute strength comes through, and he's been able to do it to the best top 5 guys, where Derek Lewis has 2 get-ups. He fat man stands up and tripods and shakes guys off, or he pushes right behind the armpit if he's on his back, and then sits up and then gets up to base and then gets up, but then he drops them bombs. Latifi is the better grappler, but both of these guys have bad gas tanks. I think Latifi will get more gas shooting the takedowns and even trying to stay on top. He can't really keep guys down when he does shoot takedowns. I think it's just a matter of time till Lewis gets an uppercut in there, and then it's Latifi going night-night. If Ryan Bader can do it, Derek Lewis can do it a lot easier, especially when Latifi's a 205er who's one of the shortest 205ers of all time, moving up to heavyweight against...
He ain't 5'8".
5'6".
Yeah.
Against Derek Lewis, who is 6'4" and cuts to 265. Easily cuts. He has to be like... He cuts 10 pounds, but still, he's all bit at 6'4". Derek Lewis just has every advantage here as far as brute strength. I think Black Beast gets it done. It ain't going to be the prettiest, but the crowd's going to go wild. TKO round number 1. Maybe 2, but I got 1.
I actually think Derek Lewis has looked so good in there. His last 2 fights, his body looks like it's transforming. He looks like he's taking this shit seriously. He surprised the shit out of me with Ivanov. I actually had Ivanov in that fight. I think his takedown defense has gotten better. I think you can lean on Derek Lewis now. He has those weird stork legs. They're super long, and he kind of locks his knees and spreads his platform out wide. And I think he's getting harder to take down. And I think it puts Latifi, if he tries, which he will out of desperation if he's hurt, it puts him in a place that Derek Lewis, now we're seeing him with other weapons on the inside, and he does have strength. I just don't see how Derek Lewis doesn't knock. I thought about this fight over and over again. If I was like the time travel guy in the Avengers, where I'm like, there's no outcomes where Latifi wins this fight. I don't see him getting him down. Derek Lewis has gone against bigger, better ground guys. I think this is going to be standing. I think he finds it quick. I think Latifi's kind of been on the way out for a little bit, and we're seeing Derek Lewis just get into it. I almost see this as a setup fight to turn Houston up. It's the perfect way to start off the pay-per-view.
Right.
And I think the stadium's going to be loud AF. I think this is a treat from the UFC to Derek Lewis to put him on this card and make it a Jon Jones fight night and everything for his stadium. But in all intents and purposes, I think it's a gift for Derek because he probably plays ball with the UFC a lot when they need a fight. But this could be a main event of a fight night in Texas purely because it's Derek Lewis in Texas, and I think the auditorium's going to give that kind of vibe.
Totally agreed. He could easily headline any ESPN Plus card and have this be in the middle of the day.
I like your KO round 1. I agree with that.
On DraftKings, you're going to pay for the minus 275 favorite Derek Lewis, 9,000 even against Alir Latifi's plus 215, 7,200 for the underdog. Latifi nowhere.
Agree. I just see him glass jawed.
If at worst it's TKO round number 2 for Derek Lewis, but it's pretty much finished for Lewis.
Yeah, at the very worst, it's KO round number 3 at 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
For me, my hardest part for DraftKings here is going to be who's going to be my linchpin. Morono at 9-2 or Derek Lewis at 9. Because I think both of those guys are finishing their fights.
Right now, I like Derek Lewis at 9. Right now. But I just trust him more. It's so
right?
weird.
It's so weird.
It's so weird to say that. But I just... We've seen this dude become a whole different dude inside that octagon.
Sure, he got his back fixed multiple... After he retired, did a lot of recuperating and is performing at his best level. I agree with what you're saying. He's looked fitter than ever.
There's an amount of discipline that he lacked in his early career that he has now, and that is the word that... It takes it's taken me up until this time of watching fights to realize how important that is for a fighter. That discipline is key, and I think it's definitely not 101. Maybe they tell you, but you don't really grasp it yet. You're looking at all the octagon stuff, but even with the weight cutting, that's part of the discipline. Not that we ever had to worry about Derek Lewis's weight, but look back to you were watching a fight when I got here to the studio today. What fight was it?
Derek Lewis versus Tamur.
In his body and that.
Tamura.
He's probably 30 pounds less now than he was there.
Fitter.
So fit.
I agree. He's definitely looking better than he ever has.
I'll get
in there.
off Derek Lewis's hot balls.
Hot, sweaty balls. His balls are hot. So the interview, we got to say where you got to be here for the interview.
Okay. Shut your eyes, your soothsaying moment, just because it would be so rad if it was true. What is Derek Lewis going to say for his interview? What is the line he's going to give us? What's he going to talk about?
So hard to predict. I know,
it's so weird. You're Derek Lewis right now. I come to you and I'm like, hey, Derek Lewis, you really put on a show in there tonight. How'd you feel about your performance?
I hope April's got them red panties on for me. April, I'm going to do it. Which he's already said before. But he's been told not to, so maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot. But that's what I would hope for. Other than that, it can be anything. It could be, hold that barbecue for me. I'm getting drunk tonight.
That's what I mean. He'll say some Derek Lewis.
Derek Lewis that's going to be awesome. And LaTB's going to be over there on a stretcher. They're going to be picking him up like rodeo clowns are going to walk in.
I think it was going to be like Donald Trump.
100%. There it is.
Donald Trump. I wouldn't rip up your speech. That would be my Derek
I whoop up on him on for free.
Okay, I'm Derek Lewis now. Hey, what would you feel after the fight? Donald Trump. I wouldn't rip up that speech, but I'm going to be ripping up April's beep tonight.
So definitely something to look forward to, a finish and a great outro. UFC, regardless of what Derek Lewis, on a loss, they're going to interview Derek Lewis on his way out now, aren't they?
Oh my gosh, you have to. Especially at the pay-per-view, we get to interview everyone. We're not going to see the rush through on the pay-per-view.
I would hope not. I would hope not.
But I think that is so funny that ESPN's like, oh, that was boring, no interview.
You got to earn it. And two guys that are definitely going to earn it in here at 145 pounds. We got a fight of the night contender. This is a sleeper on the entire card. I'm really, really excited for this one. And Mirsad Bektic coming in against Dan Ige. Dynamite in there, getting the call to the big show on the pay-per-view. Mirsad Bektic being 13-2, coming off of a loss, last being knocked out by Josh Emmett. It was a knockout. I thought it could have been a submission there. Either way, a jab knocked him down in there. He had a 2-fight winning streak against Godofredo Pepe. But he did have a previous loss as well against the Damage Elkins. And one of the biggest underdog, or one of the biggest turnarounds, 2 10-8 rounds. Darren Elkins being beaten within an inch of his life. Coming back in that third round and getting on that gas tank of Bektic, which has constantly been a problem for him. He's a guy who just fades in that third round hard. He can put out a great first round, second round, hold it together, but his third round, he is hands at his knees, breathing hard, and does not like that pressure unless it's going his way, and that's where Elkins was able to rally back. And even with Emmett in there, we kind of had that here at LaTB. We saw Emmett getting it done just because of that Team Alpha Male game plan and realizing what they got to do in there, and that's stay in Bektic's face. And I think if we saw that, a lot of other people are seeing it. And Dan Dynamite Ige in there has been getting it done on a 4-fight winning streak, only losing his debut in there to to Julio Arce in a decision. Then he knocked out Santiago Henry, last decisioning Aguilar in a great fight. Watch that fight. Aguilar started to get picked apart, but it really started to show Dan Ige's Striking has really evolved. Aguilar being the noted striker there, getting that leg picked apart, eaten alive with that right hand. Dan Ige being a black belt on many levels on the ground, being his more dangerous. That's what I absolutely love about Ige is now we're seeing his striking come in there against the noted striker in Aguilar. So I think Bektek is going to have a lot of trouble with Dan Ige is striking here, and it's because he moves forward a lot. He is a AKA fighter constantly traveling with Habib. He's constantly training. When they're training, Dan Ige is the other jiu-jitsu guy that's in there with him and Habib. Now, he's not going to be Habib, but he is going to get better. His grappling is going to, and that's going to transfer into potentially a striking. At least that's what I'm hoping. But I think that this plays into a third round. I think they're in a firefight for the first two, and I've just liked what I've seen. Ige does fade, but he has a much higher output, and he fades less. So I think that that's going to really come through, especially late, if not in the second. Give me Dan Ige, TKO round number 2. I think it happens late round number 2. Bare minimum 3, but this is one must watch. Absolutely must watch. I'm so excited for this.
I think Bektek has I think he has a bigger name here, but in my opinion, Ige's gone against the bigger talent. All the guys that Ige has faced in the last 2 years are all guys to watch in the division. I love Aguilar.
Henry,
I like Jordan Griffin. I like Henry.
Yep.
Josh Emmett, I'm not super high on him anymore, and I kind of never was. I still say the time that Josh Emmett lost was because of an illegal shot. And
Jeremy Stevens, we saw that.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
But then Darren Elkins and Josh Emmett, I just think Bektek kind of got thrown in there fighting these old dogs with big names, and they kind of made their comebacks off of him, so his name's on the palate of people. But Ige is dynamite everywhere. He has great ring IQ. He has good hands. He has good takedowns, takedown defense. I think this stays a firefight, though. And I think Dan Ige he has good jiu-jitsu, like you were saying. I think Dan Ige has better hands. I think Bektek has more power. That is what I will give Mirsad Bektek, and I don't think it'll be a walkthrough at all. I, in fact, have Ige decision. I think Mirsad's smart enough to know when to fight a wrist when he needs to, or one hand, to have 2-on-1, and Dan will keep it exciting. He keeps moving. He's not going to get stagnant in a position like that, so he'll break. And I think Mirsad Bektek will have the right ring IQ to stagnate a finish, and it's going to be a great fight. I think this could be the fight of the night.
Definitely. Sleeper fight of the night potential in there. What was your Ige? What was
Ige.
Decision?
Decision.
I got a TKO round number 2. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the slight minus 135 favorite, $8,200 against the plus 105 underdog Dan Ige at $7,900.
Wow.
8,300, sorry for Bektek there.
I love that.
So I like Dan Ige. I think he's going to finish here. I actually like putting him in a lot of spots here, but I think that either one of these guys is interchangeable, especially for their price tag.
Who does Bektek look like with the mustache? He kind of looks like the person doesn't have a mustache that I'm thinking of. He's a heavyweight fighter. He's kind of good looking.
He reminds me of the Pitbull brothers in Bellator with the mustaches. That's just me.
Oh, I'm thinking he's not great. He's a heavyweight. We usually bet against him. You could almost run through the heavyweight lineup.
Yeah.
And I'll find that out if you want to move to heavyweight.
So that's definitely going to be Dan Ige 20%, Bektek 10%. Then we move on.
Bektek nowhere.
As you're saying, with the heavyweights, 265 pounds, we have returning Justin Tafa coming in against Juan Adams. Telling you guys about DeCastro, telling you guys against this 3-0 fighter. DeCastro is legitimate. He's fighting out here in the States. Tafa fighting out of the Australia. He's fought in the regional scenes out there. He's a guy who's in that Mark Hunt team. Faded him in his last fight because he's a striker who runs in with punches on the ground. He's not good at all. The opponents he was fighting were not good, and he barely beat them at times. The thing is, Juan the Kraken Adams is somebody that I've been so high on and has disappointed me so badly that it's just like, what can I trust you? I can't trust you, Kraken. You eating Little Debbie's, which he supposedly is off of, and he's not doing that after weigh-ins anymore because he does have to cut.
Maybe he needs to eat more Little Debbie's because since he stopped, it ain't been great.
Well, he stopped after his first loss, and then he didn't do it for his last quick finish against Hardy. Prior to that, losing to Bullard in a decision. He did beat Roca in there. Has a good jab, does Juan Adams. Hurt Hardy and has hurt a lot of other fighters with his jab in there. But his striking isn't that good. And Dan Hardy hits on another level, swings at a different level. Tafa does have power, but it's not that Dan Hardy level type of power.
Where does Juan Adams train out of?
He has been at a Paradigm Training
Wherever he's
Center.
at, go somewhere else.
Houston, Texas, local guy.
They have this friggin' monster,
Sloth.
and they're not doing anything with him.
Yep.
It's bad. Okay. I feel like they took him to wherever they can take him. Imagine him you could name 5 camps off the top of your head.
And get him with DC.
He would be
Luke
winning
Rockhold.
by second round every fight. Like, he has everything you need to be. In his last performance, Schmittable.
Abysmal.
Anyway, sorry.
It was tough. I totally agree.
He looks like he should be a champion,
Yeah.
but it's just like a meek kitten inside the octagon.
You see at 265, Tafa does have to cut a little weight, but he looks like Mark Hunt. There's not a muscle on him. We have D1 wrestler, Adams, who has not shown D1 level wrestling. If anything, when he holds on the single, he holds on it too long, and it's a TKO. Tafa, anybody can throw a haymaker, especially heavyweight. Anyone's got power. But if it gets to the ground even once, not that Adams is going to submit him, but he should be by far better on the ground. I just think there's no way you can pay over 2-1 in any Juan Adams fight against anybody. Don't care who it is. So, UFC got rid of Bullard after that win.
If you would have asked me...
Crazy.
One fight ago for both people, I would have said Justin Tafa will freaking murk Greg Hardy. That's what I would have said. Now, my MMA math, it's almost like my head's exploding because it doesn't compute anything about Juan Adams versus Tafa with the Tafa who he's gone against and who Juan Adams has gone against and what is happening here.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. I don't understand. I have zero faith in Juan Adams. Zero.
I know, but he's the better fighter here all the way around, and that's the hard thing is you're going to have to pay big money for him, which I don't think you can, but I do have a TKO round number 2, but I have no faith in Tafa. I didn't like what I saw coming into the DeCastro fight. I don't like it now, but a guy who shits in bed more than once, his opponent Tafa is no Greg Hardy, so I got to put something into that. Got to stay away from it. As far as betting-wise on DraftKings, 8,800 for Juan Adams against plus 175. Justin Tafa, 7,400. Do you do the Hail Mary play with Tafa here? Because Juan Adams will let you down.
I think you do. I think this is, this is the one that I hate that is on my...
They could switch it on so many other fights. Give me Lauren Murphy, Andrea Lee.
It's because it's a heavyweight and it's probably... I can't even fathom it.
Both of these guys barely add up to 15, 7 and 11 fights between the both of them, pros at all. And they're on a pay-per-view with Jon Jones.
Do you think this all is setting up that... Because Juan Adams is a Houston, Texas guy as well.
Correct.
Is it setting up the Derek Lewis-Juan Adams fight? Or is it setting up the bigger fight to have Juan Adams on the undercard and have Derek Lewis fight Greg Hardy in Texas?
Oh, I think...
Because then you can put the storyline together.
Right.
Like, it makes it fresh in everyone's mind to make the Greg Hardy...
It's like
Derek
a year
Lewis
they have
fight.
to wait, though, to come back, though, don't they?
A year?
To get back into Texas, to fight in Texas again?
Oh, they only can fight it once a year?
No, but they usually only do about once a year, other than Vegas.
And we got 3 fights.
Yeah, we Florida, though. We Florida.
Texas, like Florida, they got all the football teams in college. They got all the football teams professionally. They got all the baseball teams.
Maybe twice at most.
Houston, Dallas, Austin. I don't know.
Okay, maybe 2 at the most, but no way 3. No way they have 3 fight cards a year.
But even if 2, they still can set it up that it has the storyline.
Totally.
I don't know. I hate that I have to pick this right now. I want to pick Justin Tafa knockout. That's what my first instinct is telling me to pick. But it should be Juan Adams ground and pound finish in the second. That's what it should be.
Right.
But when I shut my eyes, I see knockout round 1 Tafa. So I do like your Hail Mary play of putting Tafa some places.
So it's going to be 10 and 10% I'm going to put on here. But for 8,800, it might be 5% Adams. It's just, if he wins, he finishes though, right?
Or it's the most boring
decision in the world, which he's been pretty close to.
Usually with the heavyweights, you have to put it on DraftKings to be able to get your money.
So, LaTB conspiracy here. Are they bringing out the big boys for Texas? Because we got some heavyweights.
Well, they do say everything is bigger in Texas, except Jon Jones' dick.
He's off those picograms. But we do move in to the highest profile fight of the night. One that's in all of our dreams. The lady who's been showing us the mostest for the longest here. Valentina Shevchenko. We've been riding her dying for a very long time. We've been riding high, only losing to Amanda Nunes in there, having a decision early in her career, but the opponent, the challenging fighter, being Caitlin, blonde fighter, Chukagian. She is a plus 700, 13-2 fighter, only lost a decision in there against Jessica Eye. The evil eye. That's how she got her title fight after beating Chukagian. What happened to Jessica Eye in that last matchup? So I think a lot of people are steaming that line in the same way they are here because Shevchenko is minus 1,200. If Macy Barber taught us nothing, is that somebody's knee can be hurt in a fight, and Valentina Shevchenko will go in without a foot. She'll be like, it's fine. I dance without this foot all the time. She don't give a damn. She will go in there injured, even if to her detriment. She will not pull out of a fight.
I don't know. Has she been injured in a fight? I don't even think she can get injured. I thought she was like the T-1000 on Terminator. I just thought she turned into...
If she does have injuries, she doesn't go and talk about it later and be like, this is why. She's just like, no, they bullshit. I won that fight. So, Valentina Shevchenko, rangy long striker, showing us that she has ground and pound. She'll set up kicks to the body and head.
That needs to be my next unbiased rewatch. I need to watch...
Jessica Eye deserves to lose that fight. I'm just saying.
I need to watch Amanda Nunes Shevchenko 2 again to see if I still think Shevchenko won that fight.
That's a good one to put on the board.
Unbiased rewatch, girl. Go on.
So definitely not much to say. Shevchenko should be the better fighter, especially on the ground. But what I think the sneaky play here is Chukagian has less output, will kia you to death. She'll be screaming in there. This is actually going to turn into a sing-off. It's going to be, someone's going to have a mask on and they're going to guess what fighter it is under there. So
5 rounds.
It's going to be 5 rounds, but I do think that it's going to be somewhat output. If it goes to the ground, it's only with Shevchenko. It's just, you can't put that much money on anyone. I think it's going to go to decision. I think if Chukagian starts to get hurt, instead of getting in a firefight...
Has Chukagian ever been in a 5-round fight?
Maybe on the regional scene. But either way with Chukagian, even if she starts to get hurt, which it doesn't happen often because she spams so many kicks that don't even come close or punches, that she will get on her bike and run away. So I could see this turning into a chasing fighter and Valentina even saying come on lady, we came here to fight, and Chukagian will just back up. I could even see a ref warning her, especially if the striking starts to get away from Chukagian.
I don't know. Valentina's pretty slick, and she cuts off the octagon. She throws in a couple punch combination, and then she'll kick with her left leg to keep you in the space she wants to keep you in.
She'll be the matador.
Yeah, she's pretty great at. I heard that all week. That exact matador bull about Jon Jones Reyes. But I think that part of me doesn't. When it's a long, lengthy, especially when they have any kind of stand-up striking, Valentina doesn't tend to do well against those. Not that she doesn't win every round, but those are the ones that tend to go to decision most of the time with the fights. When people have somewhat of a ground game or when they seem wrestling heavy, Valentina, it'll go to she can dominate those fights kind of more. I have gone back and forth. I just don't know how I feel about Caitlin Chookagian. When I look, not that Valentina's wins are so impressive name-wise. We just all know what Valentina is. And when you look at actually like the champ and going in those kind of fights, Caitlin is super tall. She has tons of length. And if this was a 3-round fight, I could see it go into decision. The problem that I have is, like, anyway, all the people that think Caitlin's going to go in there and get murked, I think that's kind of crazy.
I agree.
I think she is a point fighter. She's going to have the length here. She might be able to keep Val at the end of her kicks for long enough. I do think Val is strong. She's going to be stronger than Caitlin, but I think Caitlin's going to have a little leverage, the height leverage, to kind of get out of those Muay Thai clinches a little better. That's what's going to get her caught, though. I think it's going to be a ducking out of a Muay Thai clinch, and Val will pull you down into them knees. Val's just so friggin' deadly everywhere. The best term about Val is assassin. She is an assassin. She is so fast in there. She's pretty well-rounded. Caitlin's pretty well-rounded. I just don't think she is even near the caliber of fighter. I just don't see it being a walkthrough. I do see it being a finish because it's a 5-round. I just don't know where to go. It's so heavy. The Fight Big Championships. I need Xanax.
I think it's a flat decision, low scorer. Again, stays away, out of distance. If anything, Chev should kick out that leg of that blonde fighter. But 9,500 for the humongous favorite against Chookagian, 6,700. A decision. I have all 5 rounds. So the average points for the 9,500 fighter Shevchenko is 81 points against the 56 to the 6,700 Chookagian underdog. I don't think you can put Chookagian anywhere. And maybe if you have enough, because we've picked so many underdogs throughout this entire fight card, because we both have a ton of underdogs throughout the night, that you will be able to afford her. I just don't think that I don't think it's going to be that level of volume of significant strikes for either fighter. It just is 5-0 rounds, maybe 4-1 if it gets close, but doubt that's going to happen. Shevchenko all the way, right?
Yeah, I have Shevchenko everywhere.
Finish? Where do you have the finish? Because I got decision.
I like the decision play because I see, when I think of this fight, the fight I want to look to the most to compare it to in my head is going to be Joanna Jędrzejczyk. That's how I see it going, a lot like that. If I'm Valentina, though, and I think this long, lanky bitch, I don't want... No, sorry, I didn't mean to call
Blonde fighter. Blonde fighter.
The worst nickname. Don't even get me hot on that. I have to call her Caitlin Chookagian, Choo Chookagian, the train. And she should come on ride that train and ride it. Come on. It would change everything. She'd be like, everyone would love her all of a sudden. Come on. This is a piece of advice. I do see Shevchenko. She's going to keep wanting to get on the inside, and causing her to get on the inside means she's going to want to hold on to that Thai clinch, which means Caitlin's eventually going to get hurt somewhere. Can Val get her down eventually? I do think Val's going to be the stronger woman here. If she gets her down or gets her in the Thai clinch anywhere, I do see the finish coming eventually. But 5-round fights, sometimes Val will conserve her energy, and we just see that, and there's
That's what I see. It's exactly what I see happening.
I just think Caitlin hasn't been in there with another kind of monster like Shevchenko. All the fighters that she's gone against, Calderwood, the one I'd give mad props to, she lost. I think Shevchenko's faster. She's going to catch her. I got Val, KO round 3.
KO round 3. Are you going to play her anywhere for 9,500? Because 10% only Valentina. There's no way you play Chookagian anywhere in this spot.
No, I'm not going to play Caitlin anywhere. But I will have Valentina in a few spots. Their skill set is just so far away from each other. And I give Caitlin mad props. I think this just makes Caitlin Chookagian a better fighter all the way around.
For sure. I would agree with that. So definitely.
I like your decision, though, because I do think the JJ fight went to decision. JJ's faster, where Caitlin might have a little more power. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that's far off at all. I just think Val isn't a finisher all the time.
Correct.
And
that's exactly what
a
lot of people think, that Val finishes a lot of people, and she hasn't. She's been in a lot of decisions. Not to take anything away, she's still a tactician in there. Yeah. But against a fighter who also keeps her distance,
pick apart the body.
Right. But against Chookagian, who likes to stay away naturally, it turns into a decision fight.
Yeah.
We see what we see in here. It's going to be one that's going to have us at the edge of our seats. I'm going to try to stay awake for it. Then we move on to the main event in the pay-per-view. Johnny Bones Jones laying down the law against Dominic Reyes, the challenger, the greatest of all time. Jon Jones looking like all sorts of a supervillain in there. That Mr. Megamind, that's what he looks like to me in that photo you got up of him.
That's what he looks like now.
That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Megamind is better than, to me, when I saw him at the last face-offs with Dominic Reyes, in my head, the first thing I thought of is, put the belt down, Mr. Huxtable. He had this, like, sweater on. He had a jacked-up booty. He reminded me like he should be a doctor in D.C.
So,
putting a little bit of
Dominic Reyes coming
Spanish
in
fly
with a perfect 12-0, coming off some controversial wins. Finishing Chris Weidman, before that winning a controversial split decision over Ozdemir, which a lot of people thought he won, and then he essentially knocked out OSP in the last round of that 3-rounder. Reyes hasn't been to 5 rounds. He's never experienced anything like Jon Jones, and he's a southpaw who throws a lot of double up. We see a lot of southpaws on this card, but Reyes is the one who throws that double kick and double left hook as much as any of them, and has really made his money there. He'll throw in a flying knee as well every once in a while. But what they've been talking about with Jon Jones and some of the talks they've been trying to talk about on the embeddeds as well has been Reyes not understanding what he's getting into with Jon Jones. And really interestingly, Anthony Smith was talking about when he had to fight Jon Jones, and the thing he didn't worry about, that he didn't think was ever going to be an issue, was how much Jon Jones messes with you.
Yeah, I was listening to that.
And he was saying it's not like him saying things about your family and doing his research, which he does, and he'll say things off camera, but it's also Jon Jones knowing where he sits in the UFC, where he'll change an entire fight card. Screw your training camp. Oh, this is your training session? No, I want to. UFC will have staff ask you to leave the premises for him to train. And he will do that type of mind games.
Even with your press conferences, and you'll be sitting in your hotel room waiting extra few hours because he delayed his press conference and then said he wanted to come in on your time.
He does different level. It doesn't start for Jon Jones the week of the fight. It started the day that contract was signed with the mind games and Jon Jones. And it's very subtle. But he's the GOAT for a reason. He definitely knows what he's doing in there. He's always had an issue with low kicks, which is constantly what he needs to worry about. Not enough guys throw him on him, but Jon Jones is the greatest. Only lost one fight to the death one. Matt Hamill in there via the controversial decision. The Hammer Hamill.
The deaf one.
But either way, Jon Jones, we know what we're getting. Just great tactician in the clinch. He actually does his best work in the dirty boxing with his elbows on the inside. What Jon Jones has been doing a lot is wrestling. He out-wrestled Daniel Cormier. He's out-wrestled everyone. When he last finished Gustafsson, it was because he outground him, and then finally the ground game got the finish where it wants to standing. But he does that chicken wing that we just saw. Did you see online, or I talked to you about it, where there was a fighter who stood up in that chicken wing from the ground and had his shoulder ripped out of its socket? Mm-hmm. Jon Jones ruined Glover Teixeira's elbow in the first round with that chicken wing, and it's a position where you just literally, in boxing it's illegal because it over-rotates the shoulder and it pulls it out of its socket because he's taller than you.
You take your arm on the outside of someone's arm and you make their elbow only bends in one direction, so they have to keep their arm straight, and it pulls up on their shoulder blade in a way that is...
He does it in every fight.
if Emmanuel wouldn't have pointed out to me on the first fight that I saw Jon Jones, it would be nothing that you would even notice as dangerous. It's like a shoulder strike,
Correct.
which is also a Jon Jones thing. It's like one of those things, how a layman
It's
would see a
sneaky.
shoulder strike or what's that guy complaining about? He didn't do anything there. He just tore his shoulder out.
He oblique kicked him in
Yeah.
the top of the knee. Why did he do that? Because he's busting the kneecap. Jon Jones has very subtle, sneaky.
And if you're
things
hardcore
that
right
work.
now and you're like, duh, well, this isn't for you then, is it? This piece of information isn't for you. But I think it's awesome. Like, I don't know.
It's just something that I think is going to play a factor in this fight specifically, because if Jones starts to get picked apart, where the only shot Reyes has really is striking. is
I hope he sharts. That's his shot.
that will be. They'll have to delay the fight a little bit, but Ozdemir gave Reyes a dirty split decision. Jon Jones finished Ozdemir pretty handedly on there, but Jon Jones is by far the better grappler and on the ground. We've just seen it time and time again. Jon Jones is definitely
And how
high
long
level.
ago was that with Ozdemir?
Already a year and a half, where Reyes has only fought Chris Weidman, who moved up in weight, and
When
who
did
else
Jon
is there?
Jones fight Ozdemir? It's been so long.
Did
It's been like, I don't even, I don't,
I think it was right before all these guys, probably like 2
5
years
years
ago.
ago? Oven St. Preux was 3 years, 9 months ago.
Right.
Then.
Oh no, it was Daniel Cormier fought Ozdemir.
Yeah.
My bad.
Okay.
Daniel
I'm like,
Cormier
you are
did.
confusing me.
My bad. But either way, Daniel Cormier, MMA math, Daniel Cormier can't beat Jon Jones. And Daniel Cormier mopped up at Ozdemir on the ground. And Daniel Cormier couldn't handle Jon Jones on the ground either. What little bit we saw there. Or lack thereof. So, MMA math, maybe I'm stretching a little bit here. But I actually think that Jon Jones, as much as he's been fighting as of late, as often as he has with all of his legacy stuff, he's been in a new weird demeanor. A little side piece. I gotta throw out my LaTB conspiracy.
Okay.
Your book
Love it.
of 2 abortions, 1 girl. Holly Holmes story. There was a tidbit where they were asking about Holly Holmes and Jon Jones in Albuquerque, and Jon Jones said specifically, Holly Holmes is a goddess in Albuquerque, but still calling her a goddess. You know the only women you call goddesses. You know. There's only very few women. Jon Jones got 10 of them. A lot more than most of us. But it's still, she's in that level. When he's at the club sometimes, I bet you his boys are at the club. The Lamborghini's at the club.
Kicks open the door and he's
Uh-huh.
like, take me to church. I'm black.
Preaching daughter. So he's laying it down heavy duty here. But I think he's been going to decision a lot more. I think that rubbed off from Holly Holm as well. You know, it's definitely goes both ways.
Are you saying he has a mangina?
I am not.
Oh, I thought you meant rubbed off.
So I think Jon Jones, though, has been playing it a lot cooler here with a lot of these prospects and just been willing to drag them into deep water and not willing to get finished in that Santos fight. As of late for Jon Jones, at the end of it, when he won, he was much more humble, but he keeps saying, I was in there with the number 1 contender, Santos. That's my hardest fight. And I think he's going to do the same thing for Reyes, but he doesn't have that spark. Jon Jones doesn't have that Cormier, Gustafsson. Why'd he finish Gustafsson? Because he had to prove a point. Why'd he finish Cormier? Because he had to prove a point. Why didn't he finish OSP? All right, man. You want a decision, Santos? Cool. All right, guys. I think he's in that boat with Reyes. I think he just is like, all right, good try, man. But he decisions them. That's what I got.
I think Jon Jones, you just said he's so dirty he'll pull your shoulder out, but then he also will take you to decision just to... I disagree. I think Jon Jones will finish if he can. I just think Jon Jones is losing a few. I know everybody says Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier, Gustafsson. Jon Jones, Daniel Cormier, Gustafsson. And I'm not a newbie to the sport anymore, but I am at the end of their era. And Jon Jones ruined his era by being all in trouble all the time and the weird drug thing and whatever and blah picograms. But DC, he knocked out Stipe. That's what DC has literally done since I've been watching him fight.
And got knocked out by Stipe as of late.
Yeah, and other than that, I mean, he tore through a lot of dudes by getting them down and doing what DC does. And but I'm whatever. I want for DC for him to retire. And then the third is Gus. I'm sorry. Since I've been watching, I think Gus is overrated. His fights are boring. Everyone that goes in is seemingly beating him lately. I just think he has passed his prime. So Jon Jones beating him again. Okay, I hope you do, dude. You're supposedly the best that there ever was, the best to ever do this. I think the things that make Jon Jones the best to ever do this is because he used a football mentality of like tape watching and tape study. And that is what Dominic Reyes is. If he was like your one to watch at one point, like your hype train. And he is far better than, I do agree with what Anthony Smith says. But Dominic Reyes has gone in there, like he's an athlete of another caliber that he's had that kind of pressure. Where Anthony Smith seems like a little head case a little bit. Like where he'd get hot in his room, like, he's messing with my time. Where Dominic Reyes is like, sometimes it happens, man. Like he just seems like a little more laid back. I think he is more of a professional athlete. And I think that's what Jon Jones is getting all like, these are the guys I love to beat. And this is... Out of all those fights beforehand, I thought Jon Jones would easily walk through Santos. Wasn't so easy. Some people like still bitch. I'm like, Jon Jones for sure won that. But imagine if Santos' knees worked the whole time. And that was just Thiago Santos, who we just saw do a bunch of sloppy fucking knockouts before that. And then he gets up there and we like all the way to decision with literally no knees. Anthony Smith, I love Anthony Smith. Think he has a ton of power. But I think he's kind of a head case in there. And I think Dominic Reyes is better than him. I think Dominic Reyes is better than Alexander Gustafsson. I think Dominic beats him easily. Daniel Cormier against Dominic, that would interest me, but we're never going to see Daniel Cormier down at 205 again. So the Daniel Cormier that was on his way out, that was cheating 6 pounds of towel weight to fight and still getting in with everything being A-okay. That guy was winning fights. Like, that guy was winning fights. He was coming in heavier than everybody else and winning fights. So good on him. But this is dangerous for Jon Jones. I think this is more dangerous than any other fight. I think it's a Jones decision or a Dominic Reyes knockout. And I think he can knock him out. I think he's studying tape too. Football players to tape study is insane. So if you have the mindset to do that kind, and you already have that quick, and you can know the cardio, and you've been watching Jon Jones forever, I think if someone's going to do it, say what you will, he's the best guy in the division that has the opportunity of doing it. And this is the worst version of Jon Jones we've ever seen, with really weird matches. I do think Jon Jones' ego is overlooking Dominic, and I think it might cost him. It's like everything, of course, it's Jon Jones' decision. Easy parcheesi, easy to pick. I might even swap in a little of my Bitcoin to get enough money that I can put a bet on a Dominic Reyes knockout.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, I just feel weird about this one. I can see it happening.
Dominic Reyes is saying that he's going to be the Chris Weidman to the Anderson Silva, where nobody saw Silva.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, I'm not scared of you, dude. I'm going to go in there and finish you twice. Dominic Reyes says the same thing. I'm going to finish you now and then again in the rematch, and I'm good with that. So he's definitely supposedly has his mindset, but the odds makers have it the other way, and the minus 450 favor for Jon Bones Jones, 9,400 on DraftKings, second highest price next to Valentina Shevchenko. Coming in against the 6,800 plus 325, Dominic Reyes. 6,800, I think you are right there. You got to take some of those Hail Mary shots, like the potential Tafa against Juan Adams. I don't think
it's Reyes, as much as a Hail Mary. If you think that Reyes, because people are like, oh, another can fight for Jones. If you think Reyes is a can, you need to do a tape study. I think he's pretty well-rounded everywhere, and I think he's going to have better leverage than Daniel. If you even look at the way that Jon Jones got DC down, he picked him up. He took his legs out from under him because DC's so short. That exact same kind of takedown will not work on Dominic's height.
So what about the eye pokes? Dominic Reyes talked about this a little bit, and there's going to be a 8-inch, 6-inch reach advantage for Jon Jones at the 6'4". Jon Jones is at 84.5-inch reach. The Reyes is 77. Do you think eye pokes play a factor in this one?
Oh, yeah, they always do it, John. Everything
the
does.
Dirtiest fighter.
But Dominic has also made no bones about that he is going to pull the ref aside and say if he eye pokes me or dick kicks me, you better take a point right away. Like he's going to point it out extra. Like, he's known to do this. I've watched all his other fights. And so I'm like, say what you... I think it's worth saying something about.
Do you think it's one of those situations where Dominic Reyes is like, ref, and then he gets kicked right in the head, and they're like, should have protected yourself?
No, he doesn't seem that kind of dude.
Okay.
He seems like he keeps a cool head in there. That's what I like about him, too. He doesn't seem like a hothead. I think Jon Jones is going to get hurt, and it's going to be his ego that makes the unravel. Even though I have Jones' prediction, my Fight Pick Championships, it would be crazy. I'm sane. Like, I will make a bet on it. I will.
Okay, it's just going to be, right. It's just a plus money that you like.
Like, I'll put enough money on it so that you guys know I'm serious about it. I won't have Jones' decision bet anywhere, but you guys will, maybe on my DraftKings a few, but on a real bet, I will make a bet, and I will have Reyes knockout. I think Jones is going to get hurt, and Dominic has power, and he's not silly. He's not like, the thing that Anthony Smith did wrong is he found one point that he thought he could unleash. He did, and the whole rest of the fight, he just waited. He waited. He didn't do anything. I don't think we're going to see the same thing from Dominic Reyes. And I think Dominic is, you know what? Thiago Santos' fight was the best Thiago. Like, he was so patient and so different than a normal. So I don't want to say, I want to judge him on that last performance, but I don't know. I don't think this is a can fight at all. I think we're going to see Jon hurt in there. Ooh. And I think we're going to see worry on his face.
You have me more excited than I initially was, because I was thinking it's going to be pretty one-sided decision for Jon Jones.
I think
You're getting
Reyes
me much
beats
more
everyone
excited.
That Jones has beat. I even think he could knock out DC.
It's the new breed. Reyes is a new breed.
Mm-hmm. And you're the one who made me pay attention to him back when. And even that, it was close with the takedown, but I don't feel like it was a push with the Ozdemir fight.
Right.
That might be an unbiased rewatch for you. Maybe
that's not a bad one. That's not a bad one.
So,
I should go check that out.
I don't know. I'm excited about this fight. I think this one between the Valentina Chukagian and the Jon Jones Reyes, this one should be so much closer.
So much better. By far, Jon Jones Reyes should be the better fight out of the both belts that are going to be contested overall throughout the night. But hell of a fight card that we kind of got, I guess, the pay-per-view.
Well, you just had to say it. It just felt natural.
I was flowing.
An okay pay-per-view. Jon Jones.
Yeah, Jon Jones. Can he get back thick as fucking... That's hot fire.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to watch it. That's what it always is. Unless you have anything to cough about that.
LaTB!